Hey y'all, welcome to your first year of drum lessons, week 19 drum pad edition. My name is Penny Larson and I am really happy to have you with me today. Today we're going to continue our trek through the rudiments. We're going to do two more drag rudiments, the lesson 25, which is number 34 in our list of 40 because life is weird. And then also number 35, the single dragadiddle, putting drags and paradiddles together. We're also going to talk about a rhythm, maybe even a rhythmic concept called the shuffle. And we're going to approach it in kind of what I hope is about the most straightforward and basic way to get into this time feel that we could take. It is a rich and deep feel, right? If I think about a shuffle, I think of it more as a feel than an actual rhythm. And we're going to use some rhythms to talk about that feel, because that's how that goes. And we'll do an exercise based around that and a little short excerpt from a snare drum solo that my drum corps did a very long time ago, and I'm remembering it, and I'm probably misremembering some of it, and I had to adjust the end. So it's definitely not exactly what my drum line was doing, but it's close. So that way I can say it's mine, so let's jump right in. Lesson 25, the first rudiment we're going to do today, is another of our drag rudiments. And it's based around this rhythm that's just 1 E and 2 E and. Right, so 2/16ths and an eighth. 1 E and, 2 E and, 3 E and, 4 E and. But before we do that, we're going to do a drag with the hand that isn't starting, right? So if I'm starting with my right hand, the drag is going to be with my left. And it's a double note. 1 E and, 2 E and, 3 E and, 4 E and. And remember that drag comes before, because it's almost, if we were playing trumpet or something, we would think of those grace notes as approach notes, right? And I really like that term because we're approaching the primary note. And even though the accent is at the end, that very first note is the primary note when it comes to the drag, right? That little double. 1 E and, 2 E and, 3 E and, 4 E and. Like the other drag rudiments, we can also do that as a multiple bounce. The lesson 25 happens in a left-handed version too, which means the drag is now going to be on the right. 1 E and, 2 E and. And we can do that with the multiple bounce. It's not really too difficult. As it speeds up, it gets a little weird. There's so many, the thing about the drags, and to a certain extent some of the flam rudiments too, you end up with so many notes with the same hand all at once that it's almost like you're kind of trying to walk with your shoelaces tied, right? You're almost getting in your own way. And to some extent, that's why these are important to work on, because these are patterns that are going to be useful as we try to play other things. But also like work musically in their own right. And some of them, like I say, create physical challenges that will help with lots of other things, okay? So, so that's lesson 25. The single dragadiddle, number 35, it's a paradiddle, but on that accent, on that first note, I'm going to play a double or drag. And I'm thinking of, if I'm thinking of the paradiddles as 16th notes, then I'm going to think of that drag as a 32nd note. So almost like it's one note of a double stroke roll, right? And it's accented too. There's an interpretation thing. As I play this more slowly, I'm accenting the first note of the double a little bit more than the second. So I'm playing kind of like, right? That's an exaggeration, but let me not think about it and see how I play it for you. Right, that first double, right? It's not getting down to the same level as the other notes, but it's also not as high as that first accent. If I tried to play the second accent as high as the first one, right? An interesting thing happens as I get faster. Because I'm using more bounce and a little bit less just finger control, the accent, the second note of the double kind of catches up. Maybe the first note of the double kind of comes down a little, but when it's faster, the accent, the two notes of the double are a little bit more even in that accent. I'm going to go ahead and say this is an interpretation issue. When you're working on it slowly, it's probably not a bad idea to work on it, honestly, both ways, just 'cause, why not? And so we're going to accent that very first note. And then we're going to accent both notes too. And then as you speed up, you'll just have more control over that double, over that drag, that double stroke. Okay, so we still have more drags next week. Really, we're basically doing drags until we're done with rudiments. But that was number 35. So we've got 5 more in our list of like the 40 standard rudiments. And we're not even halfway through the year. This is super exciting that we're getting our way through our rudiments. So now the topic of the day, shuffles. So at the top of the page here, I have straight eighth notes written out, which we've done eighth notes a lot, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And you're going to say, well, Penny, okay, fine. What the heck is that? We're talking about shuffles, right? Okay, sure. But how did shuffles happen? How did that shuffle feeling happen? And this is kind of a feeling that exists in lots of styles of music around the world. I was in my 20s when I realized that if you take certain like Irish dance music, it's pretty quick, right? It's got that hoppy feeling. If you slow that way down, before you know it, you have like the shuffle in blues, right? What the heck? Here's at least one way that I've seen explained what's going on. So we're going to take these straight eighth notes and we're going to take the second note and we're going to scooch it toward the next downbeat. So instead of 1 and 2 and, there's more space between the 1 and the and than there is between the and the next note. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. But if I write them as eighth notes and just expect you to know that, and sometimes they will, sometimes on a piece of music it'll be written with eighth notes and at the top it'll say swing. And you're just supposed to know that that means 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And that's perfectly fine. You see that a lot, right, in jazz music especially. But what we're going to do, we're going to take an eighth note triplet approach to this swing, this shuffle time feel. Right? Remember at the beginning of the lesson I said this is more of a feel than a rhythm. We're going to use the eighth note triplets to get there. There's a 16th note way to get there too that we're going to talk about in just a second. But first, all I'm doing is I'm playing eighth note triplets. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. And I'm resting on the middle note. So if the triplet is a group of 3 notes, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, I'm resting on 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay? The 16th note form of a shuffle, I'm going to leave out the middle 2 16th notes. So I use a dotted eighth and a 16th. So I get 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1. And just like 16th notes are more, we talked about binary notes, so eighth notes and 16th notes, the rhythms that are based on twos are a little bit more straight, rigid feeling, and how triplets are a little bit more round feeling. This type of shuffle as opposed to this type of shuffle the difference is subtle, but for me it feels pretty profound, right? Here I'm thinking and here I'm thinking okay? So we've been doing a ton with triplets lately, so hopefully this makes sense as like kind of conceptually, right? If I was just playing triplets, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so all we're doing is leaving out that 2. While we're here, before we go too much farther, we have a thing that we can go back to in our rudiments. When we did flam taps, we played them as eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. It's very common to play them as a shuffle. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that second note, instead of being an even eighth note, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and gets held a little, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And that's a really common way to do flam taps. Right? Because so many of those flam rudiments are triplet based, Swiss Army triplets, flam accents, that having the flam taps have a triplet feel form makes a lot of sense. Okay, so if you feel like there's not enough to work on this week, you can add those to your practice routine. Otherwise, at least just be aware, right, that a shuffle version of flam taps is really common. Okay, so now let's get to our exercise. And as always, all these things will be available right down below in the doobly-doo. So this is an exercise that I learned, say it with me, in drum corps. And at this point, it seems like this exercise was actually a variation of an exercise called Irish Spring, which Bill Bachman teaches a lot. And if you don't know who Bill Bachman is, you should totally check out Bill Bachman. He talks a lot about hand technique and hand exercises, and really great kind of all-encompassing approach to hand technique. This is a little different than his version of Irish Spring. The two things I'll say, so we're going to get to this sticking thing, and we'll talk about that in just a sec. But it's these last two measures that are really different in this exercise versus Irish Spring. And I think that happened a lot back in the olden days of drum corps, and probably even now too. Every corps, every instructor has their own way of doing things, and as they go through their drum corps and they start teaching a different drum corps, which is how a lot of drumline instructors happen, right? Is they do drumline and then they go on to teach drumline. They'll tweak things and they'll add their own stuff. A lot of times these exercises aren't being written from scratch so much as just being variations. So we're going to take a look at letter A for today. We'll save letter B for next time. So letter A is just a shuffle with each hand. I'm going to talk you through this first. So if we're doing this, 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, a 3. Okay, cool. So if I want to switch hands, I could just switch hands. And back. But there's this cool transition that happens here. And if you look at the beginning of the fourth line in the exercise, it's only a half a measure long, and the pattern goes, we're gonna even skip the first note. So the pattern, just as a group of 6 notes, we're gonna think right, right, left, and then a rest, right? So that's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, right, left, 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 right, right, left, right. Okay, and you leave that little space. That's where the rest is, and that is that same shuffle feel. That pattern, the beginning of the first 2 measures of line 4, I'm going to accent the downbeat a little bit so you can see I'm alternating where the downbeat is. And so that's the transition pattern, right? That's going to happen every time we try to change hands, okay? The first 2 lines, I'm going to play 2 whole measures of 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 2, a 2, a 3, a 4, and then that transition pattern. The third line, I'm going to play 1 measure and then do the transition pattern. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and the fourth line, the first half, each is only half a measure. It pretty much literally is just like half of a shuffle and then that transition pattern, like half a beat of shuffle and then right into the transition. And then the last 2 measures are just this neat little 3 notes on each hand 4 times. So 4 groups of 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then 6 groups of 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Let's try this super slow. I'm going to put on a metronome and I'm going to put it on with a triplet subdivision just so we're really sure that we're catching this rhythm correctly, okay? Nice and slow. We're going to do it at 40 beats a minute, which because it's triplets, it won't sound crazy slow, but it'll be pretty slow. 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 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 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Okay, and then you go back to the top. This is one you can repeat for, a day straight if you want to. Let's try it a little faster. That's super slow, right? That I would do it that slow if you're having trouble getting the feel. Let's take out that triplet subdivision and let's go up to 70 beats per minute. And let's see how that feels. 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 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 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. And this is pretty long, so until we get a little bit faster, I'm only going to play it once through for you. I think you get the idea. Let's do this. Let's see how fast we can go. Okay, so let's try it at 100. 1, 2, da 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Okay, let's try it at 130. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay. I still think that's pretty comfortable tempo-wise. So let's try it at 160. At 160, I'll play it over and over for you a few times. So you can, if you want to play it along with me, you can, and so you can see how that feels. I still think 160 even is probably going to be not our ceiling, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I still think that's pretty comfortable. Let's, okay, so let's go for 200. I'm going to play it at 200 and you'll see how I do. It's been a while since I've worked on this with a metronome, so I don't know how 200 is going to feel, honestly. I know that 160 felt pretty mellow to me, so let's see. Yeah, I think this is within our range, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, I'm feeling a little daring. I want to try this a little faster for y'all. Pretty much I'm going to keep pushing it until it breaks for me so you can see what that looks like. This is 220. Let's try 220. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Honestly, that was I made a mistake. I don't think that's the physical top of my limit. But, so what were we? We were at 220. This is an exercise I think you can totally push to, I mean, let's see how fast we can play just that shuffle. Let's do something stupid like 260, and then we'll have to bring it down, I bet. So I'm just going to play that shuffle. Yeah, I mean, that might be something you can like shoot for as a top range. Where I just was playing the whole thing at 220, I think that's a really realistic place to play it as a thing to shoot for. The cool thing about this exercise, you can play it at 40 and it doesn't sound awful. It doesn't feel awful to play, and yet you can push it all the way up to, you know, over 200, and it isn't outrageously difficult. Okay, lastly today, we're going to play this thing that I'm calling 83 Recollection. This is a section from a drum solo that my drumline played in 1983. I played snare, and this is something I play kind of all the time as just a thing to keep my hands going. I don't remember it exactly, and so at the end here, I've made some tactical decisions to make it an 8-bar phrase and get us back to the top. The other thing is, I think when we played it, these are probably 16th note triplets, and so this would be twice as fast. The beat, where we're going to put the beat, would be half, where in marching it would have been half as fast as the beat we're going to use. I wrote it this way just so it would make a little bit more sense with our shuffle concept that we're talking about, and also so it would be a little bit easier to read. Okay, so we've got 1, a 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1, a 2, a 3 triplet 4, that kind of thing. And so let's do that. Let's just play through it, and I'll count it. So we've got 1, a 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1, a 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1 triplet 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1 triplet 2 triplet 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1, a 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1, a 2 triplet 3, a 4 triplet 1, a 2 triplet 3 triplet 4, a 1, and then back to the top. Oh, wait a minute though. What's this little FP thing hanging out here? So we know what F is forte, and we know what P is piano. So wait, loud and soft, I gotta play it loud and soft? So when you see this, it'll be when there's a repeat, okay? And it means the first time through you play it loud, and the second time through you play it soft. And so for our purposes, that just means we're gonna alternate. It's gonna be loud and then soft, and then loud and then soft, okay? This is a really great way to work on kind of everything you work on is, work on everything at a bunch of different speeds and a bunch of different volumes. But if you think of things as being FP, right, that first time through you play it loud, second time through you play it soft, it's a nice way to kind of do that with like minimal thought, right? Just write FP at the beginning of all your exercises. Okay, so let's do that a little bit faster. 1, a 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1, a 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1 triplet 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1 triplet 2 triplet 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1, a 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1, a 2 triplet 3, a 4 triplet 1, a 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1, a 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1, a 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1 triplet 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1 triplet 2 triplet 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1, a 2, a 3 triplet 4, a 1, a 2 triplet 3, a 4 triplet 1, a 2 triplet 3 triplet 4. The last time through, I would land on 4 and not do that last shuffle, the after the last 4, right? Let me do it a little bit faster, and I'll do that. Maybe I'll play it. I'll repeat it, so I'll play it a total of 4 times. So it'll be loud, soft, loud, soft. And let's put on a metronome just for the heck of it. And like I said, this really I'm thinking of as 16th note triplets, so the metronome I'm going to put on is going to be pretty quick. Let's try 180. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I lied, that last time I landed on 1. I'll play how I play this when I play this for you. The last line I pretty much constructed because I don't really remember how it ended. But here's how my memory of this is. This is not, it starts out with what's written, but after the ba-da, 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 ba, so the beginning of the third line, after that, it's different, okay? So here's what I remember. It starts with a pickup 8th note. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so there is a repeat, a loop, but it's just in a different place, and I think it's not exactly an even number of bars through. So I wanted to construct something different at the end so we could get back to the top. But that's what happens when you remember something from a million years ago, right? Just a little, I mean, it's, you know, we've played triplet and pickup triplet notes before, right? When we were doing the Imperial March and Bolero, da 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 da, right? We've seen that pickup note. Now we're seeing some of them in a row, da 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 da, right? It's the same rhythm. We've seen this rhythm before. I'm making a big deal about it because this time feel is foundational for several styles of music. And so it feels like, hey, let's stop and really point out that shuffles are like just a big deal, okay? In some ways, maybe this week's lesson is a little... The thing about this week's lesson is, if it's easy, play it faster. Which is kind of always true, but this week especially, okay? So here, I'll play you that thing that I remember. This isn't what's written, the 83 Recollection, but this is the bit that I remember of it, which again has a weird loop. But if I play that like as fast as I can play, or faster than I was anyway. Right, you can just start getting into that, right? And shifting into and out of that shuffle feel is going to be really good for your control as we move forward. So, like I say, if anything, if the exercises in this week seem easy, just crank up your metronome, okay? That's going to do it for this week. This week is shuffle. Oh yeah, a couple drag rudiments and shuffles, right? Friday on our drum set lesson, kind of the same deal, right? We're gonna really be hammering home on the shuffle rhythm, and then, you know, we'll kind of branch back out. That's been the pattern on the channel, right? For this series is, hey, here's a subject, let's balloon it a little, and then make it too hard for your first year of drum lessons, and then we'll back it back down and introduce just a subject that's appropriate for your first year of drum lessons, and then we'll expand it that's too hard for your first year of drum lessons, right? And hopefully that way, if this really is your first year of drum lessons and you never picked up sticks before January, every few weeks there's something that you're really feeling great about and then you're having to struggle a little. And likewise, if you've been playing for 25 years, every few weeks there's something that you're like, oh, this is really easy. What the heck is she doing? And then after a couple weeks of that subject, hopefully there's something that you can get something out of, right? That's kind of my plan. That's what I'm hoping for. It's been really difficult to balance the try and do a curriculum based on a year of lessons with a prototypical student. And so what this seems to have become is that kind of, here's a subject, let's get it more difficult. Here's a subject, let's get it more difficult. And so this is kind of a sampler year than specifically being perfectly designed for someone who just started drumming. But hopefully that makes there something for everybody. And maybe you just like listening to me ramble, in which case I got plenty of that. Okay, so that's gonna wrap it for today. Work on the shuffle a ton. It's all about that feel. I'm not even going to mention, here I go. I'm not even going to mention that shuffle exercise is super great for your doubles, right? It's yet another way. It's a stealth way of me tricking you into working on your doubles technique. Haha. Because that's what I do, is doubles technique. So yeah, so hopefully I will see you guys Friday on the drum set. Hopefully there'll be more of a drum set. And we'll do shuffle grooves on the drum set. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to the channel. Also, maybe subscribe to this playlist. Like I mentioned, this is your first year of drum lessons, and I just explained what it is, so I won't do that again. If you like this video, a thumbs up would be awesome. If you don't like the video, a thumbs down is fine. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Penny Larson Drums, and I would love to see you there. But I will see you Friday. Hope you all are doing well. All right. Take care. Love you guys. Bye.